I should have my hair like this after yesterday, but
That's a
yeah,
great point. That's a great point.
yeah.
David,
Uh,
I'm not sure that the D2C community at large would have known what is going on inside of their Meta ad manager
yeah.
without you being so active on the feed over the past
Oh,
few days.
you know,
Bring us into it. Tell us what's going on, how you discovered it, and what's happened.
yeah. Well, I noticed the issue last week. A few people had pinged me on it, and then from there I kind of dug in deeper. And there was a Meta outage. I think it was like the 7th of last week that they did say something about an issue. They didn't say what, but it was a delivery issue. So I expected that it was mostly related to that. But the issue kind of persisted despite Meta saying, "Hey, we fixed the issue," and I was like, "No, they didn't." And so from there, we just kind of monitored over the weekend and noticed that performance continued to kind of get bad for a few brands that I manage where I spend quite a bit of money. And Monday was sort of the catalyst of like our cost per landing page views is in some instances was jumping over to $30 or $40. And our conversion rate was pretty much falling off a cliff. In some instances, we were down to about a 0.3, 0.4% for Meta
Oh,
conversion rates.
Oh,
So Monday, I pulled the bat signal and pinged a few people at Meta and said, "Hey, before I really go crazy on this one, just want to let you know this is happening. Can you guys check it out?" And they pinged me back. I'm like, "Yeah, we're starting to notice this. We'll let you know." And then a couple hours later, I got a ping that all right, other people are noticing it, and now it's getting started to take off. So stayed on them throughout all of Monday, and then yesterday was sort of the fever pitch for a number of brands that I work with, where our CPAs were up 40 to 60% week over week, and got the word that they, I guess, fixed the issue last night. So this is not an iOS 26 issue. This was, I know I saw a few people saying that was the end of Meta, right? That they are screwing things up. And no, it was nothing to do with iOS. It was simply an issue on Meta. The engineers went back to work. Let's just say it that way.
well, happy to hear that. I think the frustrating thing for me that I've experienced myself, I'm sure other founders and marketers are experiencing, is that so much of our industry, it hinges on this black box that we
Yeah.
have only so much control over. And I know, let's say you're founder running your own account, or let's say you're a media buyer inside of an agency, you're working with brands, they're coming to you like, hey, WTF, what's going on? It feels like such a cheap excuse and not a good excuse to just say, Meta's kind of like wigging out right now.
Right.
What
Yeah.
what do people do that don't have the kind of access that you have? What can we do? Is there anything that we can do?
Honestly, I've always just said, if you want, follow me, because I try to be, I was there, right? I didn't have support for a long time, and I knew how frustrating it was. So I always try to be very open online. And Meta's acknowledged that I'm one of the few that tries to be transparent, and even a lot of the engineers at Meta follow me, and they hear about the issue on X before they hear about the issue in Sterling. And so I would say that's probably your best bet, is just to follow me and a couple others that are trying to be as open about it as possible. I'm not I'm an action guy where I'm not necessarily growing a personal brand online. I'm in the day to day here, right? And so I try to just be very transparent about what I'm seeing in the ad accounts and the bugs specifically.
David, it seems like you are like, maybe you have a raw hatred for Meta that I've seen from the past couple of months. Is there anything that you're pumped about what they do? And you can be
Hey,
transparent here, dude.
like contrary to popular belief, I don't hate Meta. I've been advertising on Meta since 2010, 2011. Back in the day when it was very, very, very basic, and there was a very small group of us doing this. And it's a massive company, right? And there's a lot of issues with it being what it is. I will say that my support that I have is far and away the best I can ask for. They're very transparent with me. They're very open with me, and I really do appreciate it. So yeah, I don't hate Meta. I think that Meta is gone through such a drastic shift with all things AI that we are kind of guinea pigs to the chaos that all this happens, right? And I fully expect it just to always continue that way. That's just sort of Meta's prerogative at this point, is like, hey, move fast, break things. And they've kind of always been that way. But I do think that specifically from what I've heard and what I've been told, as well as what I've said to them, is like, hey, like, you guys have the biggest share of wallet. You need to at some point make that and understand that so many businesses are relying on you guys and Shopify to work. And so I think they are starting to really get the picture of this, that it's not just, if something breaks, that it is a massive impact. And there are people internally at Meta that are really trying to push, for positive things. So that's all I really can tell you, but I don't hate Meta.
And we owe so much to Meta. We owe so much.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us owe our careers to Mark Zuckerberg, right? Like, I'm 40, so I'm dating myself. I mean, I remember when Facebook came on our college campus and how big of a deal it was, right? So for me, it's my entire adult life has been Meta. And it's like I've grown up with it. I've grown up with the ad platform, and almost every other paid social ad platform came as a result of Meta, right?
Exactly.
They all look big. So Meta is the big machine here, and rightfully so. They're going to have issues, but I think it has been a lot more stable as of late. And if you are really deep in understanding kind of like what the model they built with the Andromedas and the Gems of this world, and really get how creative flows in these platforms, it actually is becoming a lot easier.
Wow.
Outside of conventional economic issues and things like that are at play, I do believe that there's a lot that they've done, a lot of education they've done, and the tools that people just don't happen to look either, right? Like I have a chatbot that I literally built in Gemini that I ask an engineer at Meta questions based on all their internal marketing docs that they release.
Love it.
Andromeda and Gem, I literally submit creative to my own bot, and I ask it, does this follow the trend of what it needs? Is this identifiable based on the frameworks you've built? It's like, yes, right?
Wow.
Anybody can build that. It's all sitting there. And it's just people don't, I think, realize that is Meta doesn't hide anything. They've never hidden anything of these things. So I think that at the end of the day, it's just a lot deeper education people have to go and unthink what they have done on Meta, for the past 10 plus years. It's just a different platform now.
Wow. So, educate thyself, dear marketer.
Educate.
That is so compelling. Well, let me just bring this up, David. There are many on our timelines. I think Corey Dobbin is a great example of pushing in this direction. His take is, guys, you got to diversify. Meta's going to have problems. Even though it's the best among us, it's going to have problems. You got to differentiate. Are there any other platforms, as you buy media and help the brands that you're helping, are there any other platforms where you've seen real success, where you're hopeful that D2C brands have a real future in profitable acquisition? Yeah,
I mean, AppLovin for us has been continuously one of the top bright spots, especially in 2024 and 2025. It's been the one area that we've been able to spend to the levels of what Meta spends, which is very rare, right? Like, you have things like TikTok and Snapchat and Pinterest and all these other platforms. They don't have quite that scale. But for us, it's been AppLovin that's come apples to apples with Meta in terms of spend levels and performance. Outside that, we do spend a lot of money on things like Pinterest. Pinterest has been a great awareness channel for us. And then YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts is probably the one that no one really talks about because they're always so focused on in-feed. But if you are, running Reels and you're pretty successful at it, there's no question you should be running YouTube Shorts. So those are kind of the main ones that I would have people really put their focus on outside of the diversification on Meta. But at the end of the day, it's like, the biggest share of wallet's going to be Meta, and most people are going to get too worked up by moving all these other platforms and then trying to make it work the exact same way that it works on Meta. And the reality is, even though AppLovin says, hey, the creative that works on Meta is going to work on AppLovin, that's not always the case. And you have to be very ingrained in like what the platform is, right? So for AppLovin, it's Words with Friends, it's Clash of Clans, it's all these games, and you have to be thinking about, well, does my creative make sense if they're going to get interrupted during their game, to see this ad, or are they going to get really annoyed by it, right? Versus Meta, you can kind of get away with anything because it's not going to spend in certain ways. So at the end of the day, just educate yourself on these ad platforms all together and do your research before you just jump in and make sure it makes a lot of sense for you. Pinterest is the biggest one because it's not a performance channel, right? It's an awareness channel. They have performance metrics, but you're not going to see the success of that over a same time period that you would on Meta.
Wow. Sauce.
There you go.
True sauce.
Yeah, for a Wednesday.
Sauce.
For a Wednesday.
Yeah. David,
Yeah.
are there, shifting gears a little bit here,
Yeah.
are there any categories specifically in the product space that you're super fired up about on Meta specifically? So if you're like, hey, this product category I think is going to absolutely be a crusher on Meta moving forward and into the rest of 2026?
Yeah. Honestly, I always like to say the riches are in the niches, and especially when it comes to AI, the better you can be at any product that serves a niche has been really successful. And what I mean by that is the creative becomes a lot easier to do when you're in niches and being really good and thoughtful about, hey, calling out the specific niche in your creative. Meta's going to identify who that person is pretty quickly. Now, I'm not saying find a niche that's very small, find niches that are still quite big, but that's been an area that I'm seeing very successful. And then outside that, I see a lot of movement within, everything from problem solving type products are always going to be the easiest. Gifting is always going to be the hardest because you do serve a specific timeline in the year. So you're always going to be kind of tearing your hair out trying to find what works and doesn't outside of the Q4 season. So I would say problem solution and more niche products are going to be the winners as we've seen.
David, we know that you are a busy man and there's many things for you to accomplish today. Before you go, give us 30 seconds on your thoughts for ad buying in the future. We know AI is coming for us all.
Yeah.
And I think established craftsmen like yourself, we're always going to have work to do. But what about people who are 25 and under? What about people who are just starting in paid media? Do we have a future?
Yeah, no, I'm on the side of artificial intelligence is going to take up 70% of our job and help us just become a lot deeper and focused in areas that we want to be. So whatever that is for your specific passion. In the old days, it would take me forever to creative strategize a brand. But now with AI, I'm able to get that 70% of the work done. And from there, I'm able to really get deep into where I am the best at, right? Which is creatively thinking about the strategy here and kind of going that direction. So for me, I still think AI is not going to take all of our jobs. I think if you're a media buyer that literally just uploads creative and places ads, yeah, like that's kind of better place. But if you can think strategically about how does this play into the whole overarching sort of area of e-commerce when it comes to either, hey, omni-channel to incrementality to brand spend to creative spend, there's so many areas of this that you can just fall into that sort of that niche. So I would say, like, for people that are younger that are trying to get into this, like, be so well-rounded that you kind of know everything. I was fortunate enough to I interned in television commercials in the late 90s, early 2000s before digital took off, right? So I had experience in TV commercials and TV strategy and TV placement. To then I worked in the magazine world where I was placing magazine placements and doing all insertion orders and that. So I've had a very extensive background in old school, new school, and then kind of playing into this future with AI. So I've had that experience, and I know a lot of people haven't. But becoming better prompt engineer at AI is also going to be so critical. And the more you can kind of think for yourself and allow yourself to think strategically of how and what you want AI to teach you is really going to be, I think, a hack for people, because a lot of people are just going to do the very bare minimum. And then they're also going to not learn how to kind of learn for themselves. And I think that's going to be a big thing, is like, don't just become so AI driven that you don't ever think. Like, be willing to like challenge it and think deeper about it and use it as a branching off point, not the here all end all.
Incredible. David, we really appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for being so locked in on what's happening in those accounts. Everyone go follow Herrmann Digital on Twitter, and we appreciate you coming.
Yep.
I'm blown away. I'm blown away. He's the man. He's the
Yeah, he is.
man. Big takeaways for me. The guy has uploaded Meta's documents that they make available. He's chatting with that thing. Hey, based on this creative, what do you think? Am I going to win here? That was huge for me. Even David Herrmann on the Mount Rushmore of paid media, even he himself is checking and using AI, educating himself to create winners for his clients. That was compelling. What was takeaway for you, Colin?
That's huge because when you think about it, you're like, oh, duh, obviously I should just do it, whatever the public changes are that Meta's announcing. But nobody thinks like that when they make creative. So if you run through a filtering system, like we talk about a lot on this show, like a guardrails filtering system and kind of that, and you have this thing to basically hammer up your creative against, and you're like, hey, this new feature that just got released by Meta, 20 days ago, how is this aligned with that? And if it says you're spot on, you're super aligned with it, amazing. I'm going to make all my creative around that. But if it's like, hey, man, you're totally missing the mark here. This is the complete opposite of what Meta wants to do. You're probably going to end up spending more money to get less results.
Yeah, that was really good. I'm glad. I think following him on Twitter, and I mean, he was dropping sauce all over us. Pinterest, I would never personally. I'm admitting my own fault here. I would never think about driving awareness on Pinterest. Let's talk about YouTube Shorts. Very compelling, and it seems there's still hope for the younger marketers among us who are just getting started in their paid media buying careers. If you're just simply uploading things, clicking buttons, if you're simply executing, that's a problem. But David's advice for becoming a well-rounded profit engineer, one might say, who indexes largely into paid media or the creation of ad creative, he thinks there's still a realm for that to exist in the future, that's exciting for me. That's exciting for me and for everyone in our industry, I think, particularly because we don't want the robots to do everything, do we? I mean, unless we're all going to be on fat UBI checks, which maybe we are in the future. It gives me hope for paid media and the people among us who are working these jobs.